Greetings to everybody that's around the way. I'm excited. We're getting ready to drop this close to our Labor Day. And so I want to wish everybody happy holidays. But I'm super excited to bring on this episode of the Moving Camp podcast that is presented by the United Supreme Council, Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, Prince Hall Affiliate, Northern Jurisdiction, USA Incorporated. You got to give it the give it the whole thing every once in a while, right? Because it feels right, it feels good. And so this evening's and this podcast is something near and dear to my heart. We're going to be talking about something that affects all of us and we all can participate in. I'm bringing on a guest that's going to help us with this. I have the fortune and the pleasure of naming this person as a friend, as a mentor at this point, right? Even though he wears a different kind of colors here, a different kind of purple, right? But we're going to be talking about voting, voter registration, and why it's important. And as members of this United Supreme Council, why this is important for us to be able to participate. So I'm going to introduce our guest speaker for this one. It's going to be illustrious Gary Smith, who's one of the individuals that is on the education department of the United Supreme Council and does a lot of phenomenal work in different areas. And like I said, I'm so excited to have him on here with us. That way we can be able to go through a couple different things and walk through why we're going to do this. So, illustrious Gary Smith, again, it's indeed a pleasure to see you again. Welcome. I'm excited to have this dialogue and this conversation here with you today.
So thank you, Sublime Prince Barrett. Of course, I just want to say, man, you the podcast department chair, man, you have taken the ball and you have taken it to the next level, which is no surprise, because I get to watch you in the education department as well,
Yeah.
and the talents that you bring to the table. So, man, I'm excited. I'm excited because, man, your vision and your talent and the people that want to follow you. It is so good, man. And you're absolutely right, man. You are spot on. And this can be cliche-ish, as if there ever was a time that is so consequential for us to vote. And so let's just dialogue on voting, because so many of our ancestors lost their lives just so we could participate in what we call voting. And so we can't take that for granted. And tonight we're not here to prod anybody to vote for any particular party. Mm-hmm. But we want to make sure that you have all the information, because we're under the gun 65 days and 65 short days. November 5th will be here. And we got to vote. So time is running out, and as you know, states there's timelines if you're not registered. But we want you to know that because this is truly consequential in our lifetime. Because as of right now, this year we got Senate seats. If we want to talk at the national level, we got United States Senate seats that's up. All 435 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives is. We got governorships in some states and territories that's up. And we often overlook down at the state, which is probably one of the most important, our state and local offices. We got elections going on in state and local offices that you should be well aware of, because it matters. It matters, who you vote for and to know what's going on. Because, the margins can be slim. If history has told us anything, we should know that your vote do matters. It matters, and your one vote counts, because the margins. Let me just throw some numbers at you right quick.
Yeah, shoot, hit me,
margins.
hit me.
In 2008, the Minnesota United States Senate seat came down to 312 votes to determine the winner. In 2006, the Oklahoma State House of Representatives came down to 2 votes. In 2005, right here in Virginia, our attorney general election came down to 323 votes. Mm. In 2004, the state of Washington, their governorship came down to 133 votes. Talk about slim margins. And I got one for you. Oh, we haven't forgot. In 2000, when the U.S. president's electoral votes between George and Bush came down to 537 votes. Mm-hmm. So the margins can be slim, so it matters. You have to get out there and vote. It matters. Every citizen over the age of 18, if you're registered, you're able to participate in this thing called election, where people have lost their lives generations before us just so you can vote. And I'm reminded of something that Abraham Lincoln said. Abraham Lincoln said that the ballot is stronger than the bullet. Because in 1776, one vote gave America English instead of German.
Wow.
In 1845, one vote brought Texas into the Union. And then 1875, one vote changed France from a monarchy to a republic. So tell me that the ballot is stronger than a bullet. But it's so important that we take advantage of our right to vote. And so we're going to be putting information out there so all our freighters that can exercise in this opportunity, because we can make a difference. The numbers in our roles, we can make a difference. And we're not going to tell you who you should be voting for, because, hey, the right of the ballot is your secret, is your privacy. But we want to make sure that you have all the information so you can participate in this thing we call the right of being a citizen, and that's to vote.
Mm. And so there's a lot of profound things that you put in there. I didn't know about the German language. That one's an interesting one, right? So that one, I'm gonna read a little bit more about that in there. But you brought up something else. You said everybody who is registered to vote. So I did some research here, and I found out that most states, because that's the first question, that's where we're gonna start off. Like, hey, am I registered? Can I do it? Some of them get cool little cards that come back to them. Like I have mine right here. You probably can't see it, but I have mine here on my desk, so I'm ready to rock and roll when it's time to come. But I've learned that most of the time, if you can't find anywhere else, go to your state's website, to your Secretary of State's, and there's normally a path that you can go through and you can see if you're registered to vote. Also, too, there's local election offices, right? Or even like the DMV or your public library where you can go in person. Let's say if you're somebody who is not as apt to or feels comfortable going in online, you want to double check, you can walk through to one of these places to go ahead and look at registering, because that's the first step, right? To figure out if you're registered to be able to vote. And then if you're not registered, to take those steps to kind of go ahead and get registered. Because I think Alessia Smith, you're going to talk a little bit too, because I think in some states you have to be registered so far in advance. So that's very key for people to be able to acknowledge and understand. So you got to figure out your timelines, right? Because this is very important. And one question I have for you, Alessia Smith, is we talked briefly offline about local elections, right? And kind of why that's like a little bit closer to home, right? Like from your experience and what you've seen and understand, like why do you feel the local election too as well is very, very important? And then sometimes even more than some of the other ones where we're just looking at just, you know what I mean, the presidential candidates, right? Like why is local more impactful sometimes, or you feel it's impactful for us to know about?
And honestly, the old saying, and this is the truth, all politics is local. It means it goes down to the domain, the states, the city, the sanctuaries that you live in. Those people that you elect, your taxes. You
Mm,
want to elect somebody that has your interests, that has your vested interests. And so, we get so fixated every 4 years at the general election when it's time to run, vote for the presidency. But we should also never lose sight of our local elections, because those individuals that's going to sit on your school boards, those individuals that's going to become your mayors, at your state level, your governors, your county council, city council. It is important to have people that have your vested interests, because local affects you. Not
mm,
so much nationally all the time, but local is what affects you. My taxes here locally. I align myself with people that aligns themselves with their interests, my interests align them. So I'm putting those folks, because locally is where I live. I feel local every day. So I want
mm,
to make sure the laws and the policies that here locally and where I live, I want to make sure I got those people that's in my local jurisdiction that have my vested interests. And so, and the ones that are not, they don't get my vote. because my vote is my vote.
Mm.
And that is why it is so important to know who is sitting on your school boards, who is the superintendents, who's on the county council, who's going to be the mayor, because it's important, because I need to know what their agendas are. And do their agendas line up with my agenda? What I expect, because
Mm.
local is where we live. Local affects me. I feel that. I feel the pocketbook, the wallets.
Mm.
Local affects that. And so that's why our citizens should never lose sight of local, because local affects us day to day.
No, that's something that you put on there. And I think one other thing, I can't take credit for this because one of my peers had walked me through it. He stated that due to who you elect as your judge, as well as like certain prosecutors and things of this nature, for us or people of color, this can directly tie into the pipeline, the prison system, right? Like, who is this person in here? Do they feel that people can be rehabilitated, or do they feel they should give them the maximum sentence all the time, right? Like, whatever your personal opinion is, whether you feel they should or shouldn't, you should be able to have an idea and understand this like this. And I always say the thing is, it's no secret, and you can see my skin tone, right? I mean, I have a black son too, as well, right? So these things started to hit home a little bit more for myself once I looked into that. And so that's why I make sure not just on the 4 years, but I look at people's platforms. And like you said, um, you feel local. I'm probably going to tagline. I'll probably trademark that before you get a chance to, but you feel local is something that I think resonates with me that you just said that's very important. So I'm gonna challenge the individuals watching this video. Ask yourself who is in your local election. Can you walk through what they want when they're going through? And this is a key point. Look at some things that have to deal with like your mill rights, like why they're going to increase, like they're going to increase
Mm-hmm.
taxes to do what? Sometimes maybe you agree with it, like, yeah, I do want to send more money here. Other times you're like, yeah, I don't see any benefit in this. Maybe it's not best for you, right? But I'm gonna tell you one
Mm-hmm.
thing. If you don't vote, that is a vote. That's one thing I learned too as well. If you don't vote, there is a vote that's going to take over the majority, and it might not be the best interest for yourself. And kind of going down that practice too as well. So we're talking about the local. Now, one thing is I researched too as well some things that as we're going through and trying to fight and trying to exercise our right to vote, there's some things to look out for, right? Some red flags that you just want to make sure that you as a citizen are aware of. You have to realize that one, there's a lot of misinformation that's out there. So I will always challenge people that as you see things, just don't share the very first TikTok video you get online, right? Like don't like do some research, man. Look and see because false information comes out all the time, and that's one actually on both sides of the fence, right? So both of the major parties have that. So I don't know if you want to speak on that a little bit more, Lusher Smith, but like I said, it's some things that we have to just be very, very mindful of where we get our information from. You know what I mean?
And it's so important, and we have to be vigilant and on guard for this, because a lot of voting rolls are being purged,
Mm.
and of course, people, we don't understand if there's an agenda, something nefarious behind it, but hey, in certain states and localities where you can see a lot of stuff going on, and you're like, okay, man, things ain't adding up. But that's why it's so important to check your voter registration. And we're going to put information out there, a link where you can go to and check by, and it's based upon your state, the county that you live in, where you register to vote, to make sure that, because we're in that window now that, hey, the deadlines, some deadlines have passed and some deadlines are fastly coming up, to where, you got to make sure you're registered. And if you are registered, you want to make sure that your registration is still good, because we're hearing that in a lot of places that voter registrations are being purged, and people are showing up there, like, and you don't want to wait to the last minute to show up. They said, hey, you're not registered to vote, and the deadline has gone, and now there's not enough time, and your vote, and and it's trickery. So we just have to be on guard, and this is why we want to talk to this now, to put this information out there, so all our freighters, hey, you can participate in this thing that many of our ancestors have lost their life, or have shed blood, sweat, and tears, just so that we can have the right to vote. And so we should seize upon that. Make sure that your registration is solid. That way, we don't want no funny business going on. If you wait to November 5th to go to the polls and vote, we don't want no funny business. We want to show up there. We want to cast our vote. And everybody, your vote counts. So just imagine the people we got on our rolls. If we all just go to the polls and participate in our right as an American citizen and vote, and we can make a difference. We have to make a difference by action, though. Action. You have to do something here. You have to go and vote. Now, we're not telling you who to go vote for, but we're telling you to go vote. We need you to vote. Go vote. Participate. Because also the way we vote, hey, those numbers, they use those numbers to determine many other things. So the power of the vote, you have your vote. Don't let nobody take your vote from you, and you don't exercise the right to vote. Go and vote.
No, and the thing too as well is what you're saying too is I would challenge individuals, as well as our little ladies, right, to be very active, but more especially, I'm gonna speak to the Sublime Princess, right? If you go into your
Mm-hmm.
32nd degree, look at your obligation, right? There's a couple things that you said
Mm-hmm.
that you're gonna do. Also, I'll look up and get the details of the other degree, but there's another one too where you talk about your um fight against ignorance and other items, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have to go through this practice, right? And part of that is this process. So as Sublime Princes, we do have a role to humanity to regenerate it. And part of the process is this voting process, this communication. So, like I said, individually, we have a responsibility. As a whole, there's so many things that as consistories we can do, right? Like we can
Mm-hmm.
not only hold voter registration drives, and I think those are things that people think of big ones, right? But I want to go down to something really small, like just have a conversation with one of your younger members and ask them, hey, what's your plan or where's the place you go to vote at? Like I know mine's right at the Savage School right down the street from my house. Like I know where I vote at, right? So I know I'm going after work at 7 o'clock. That's when I normally go because there's nobody there. And I just go in and do my thing and go. Right. But ask somebody. And if that young member of the organization doesn't have the answer, doesn't know, that's where you know you follow up. And then vice versa. Maybe you have some people who are a little bit older put together some transportation, right? What if one of the bros, if you have a brother that's retired or somebody who is volunteering at the polls or something of this nature, there's so many things we can do as an individual as well as a consistory. And I really want to put that out there for us so that when you go to your next consistory meeting or if you're in your group me, your chats, your Facebook groups, put that out there and say like, hey, like let's go who needs a ride, right?
Right.
Ask, put it out there, right? So I think there's just so much more that we can do that doesn't take a lot of effort and a lot of work that can make a large impact because I believe you told me one of the Senate races, Elisha Smith, you told me was only like what 300 votes.
That's right. 312. That's right. You're
Crap,
absolutely
that
right.
crap, that's
That's
an
right.
Orient. That's an Orient right there.
Right.
What if the deputy was like, "Hey, everybody in the Orient, we go this way. Everybody, I'm not going to tell you where to vote, who to vote for, but everybody has to vote." That's a whole Orient
Right.
right there, and we just moved and got somebody elected or somebody not elected that wasn't in favor for the core values that we have, right? Like, think about the impact that you have right now, right? We're going to make it really granular and really tangible for you. So, those are a couple things. Like I said, talk to your commander in chief, talk to your other G.I.Gs and S.G.I.Gs, and just have a dialogue. You don't have to have a big event about it. Just talk about it and ask like who's doing what, who needs help, right? But we have a responsibility because when this comes out, this is going to be, I believe, it's 65 or 64 days
Mm.
left to go, and that's not long, right? That's
And three resources, that I would leave with our freighters that you can check on, and I've been telling people about these resources for a
mhm,
while. There's a site called Ballotpedia.
mhm,
Ballotpedia, and Ballotpedia, it provides a comprehensive list of early voting dates for every
mhm,
state, for each state. It's called Ballotpedia, and it's a good resource to use. Then you also have the U.S. Vote Foundation, and this is an interactive tool that you can use. And of course, to what you said, about your local state election officers that tell you specifically too. But Ballotpedia is a good resource. And then the U.S. Vote Foundation, that's an interactive one that you can use. So just resources, because we want to put that out there for all of our freighters. We want to give you all the information that you can have. And so that way you can make a good decision and you are equipped because really, this is a consequential election. this in our lifetime, because there's so many things that's out there that may not be good for us,
Hmm.
as as people, so as citizens. So we want everybody to have this information and to go vote. Vote your conscience, vote your interests. uh
But yeah. And so this podcast is really about action, right? We're not giving you a long drawn out. We are doing basically a call to arms. This is your wake up call if you haven't started. If you've been down that path, this is to say, hey, thank you. And we still have some more work to do, but we're going to fight. We're going to fight. And if you have any questions or need any resources, what we're going to do is I'll put my email on the bottom of this one here too, as well at the end, so that you can reach out. And then, like I said, if there's something that we need to be able to send to you to help out, because that's how serious we are about this, especially in the education department, that's chaired by Sovereign Grand Inspector General Dr. Dwayne Thomas. We are about all education. You might think it's just about the ritual, but no, no. Again, it says that first campaign was about ignorance, and that's just a lack of knowledge. So that's what we're tasked to do when regenerating humanity. And now, before I let you go, Alessia Smith, do you have any other additional words to help them out to get them fired up? Because, like I said, I didn't know it was one vote, and we could have been speaking German all right now, right? Like that's blown me away, and that's going to be a topic of conversation with my friends here the rest of this evening. But again, I just want to make sure to see if there's anything else you want to share with the people before we head out.
So the power of the ballot, and that's nothing strange to us from what we do, within our Masonic organization. The power of the ballot. We all got one vote, and your vote counts. Well, let's use this in our civil duties as well,
Mhm.
our civil civic duties as well, to go and vote. And this is so important. We're not trying to tell you who to vote for, but we're trying to tell you to participate and exercise in the civic duty that you have as a citizen. And this is a right as a citizen. Utilize it, and just be a good citizen, and go and vote. And so I leave them with that. Just go and vote. And if everybody, I got faith in America. I got faith in this citizenry. If every one of our citizens, and now we're talking to our freighters, if you truly go and just exercise your right to vote, I think we're going to wake up on November 6th, and I think we're going to be well pleased. I think we'll be well pleased when we wake up on the 6th of November if all of us just go and exercise our civic duty by voting.
Mhm. Well, again, I appreciate it so much, Alicia Smith, for being here. And again, my name is Sublime Prince Stephen Baird, the host of the Moving Camp podcast. Truly, it's an honor and a pleasure to be able to be your host. But this one, like I said, hits a little bit more home for myself, especially as a father of three, that this is something that we have to pass on. And we want to make sure that this information will be archived through our various social media platforms, because we're on X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We have a Fort Worth Facebook page, and we have YouTube here too as well. So we're going to make sure that everyone has this information that's necessary, so that years and years that go on, because next year there's going to be another election. It might not be for the president, but in your local area there's going to be another election, and you're going to need this information, and you're going to need to be active, right? This does not stop. It's not a one and done. This is going to be a consistency, and it's going to be a nature and a fabric of who we are as Scottish Rite Masons. So again, it's a humble pleasure to be able to host and serve for you all. And until next time.